Hi Libra, welcome to your mid-April post-eclipse reading. So the most important event for you happens on the 20th, and the lead up, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is from the 15th to the 26th, and it's perfected on the 20th. So that's really what this reading is about. And we'll also talk about Taurus season, but we'll do that more in the extended. So first up, let's grab some cards. King of Pentacles and the Two of Pentacles. So if you have an earth sign in your life that you've been going back and forth about, and you just don't know where you stand with them, you don't know, you can't tell anymore, or you haven't been able to tell for a while, you've just been confused about where they're at, you're about to have some luck. It may not at first feel lucky. It may at first feel really intense and forces you into some deep introspection. But that's the theme of April and May for you, is not being able to avoid the introspection that you've been running from for years, it feels like, right? Especially when it comes to love and romantic situations. So this luck at first feels very unlucky. Now, why does it feel unlucky? So the eclipse was in Libra rising's 7th house. Now, in that same 7th house, you have Mercury retrograde from the 1st to the 25th. What does that mean? What you find out from now until the 26th, it's disruptive. It forces introspection, but it also forces new beginnings. Because there is something very fundamental here that you may have been avoiding about your current situation. Now, for those of you who are like, my relationship's fine, I think this applies more to work. It can apply to any really important relationship where you have been neglected and not cared for, and you've either just kept it moving, right? You logic your way out of it. I don't really need that from this situation. I have what I need out of this. I don't need them to do more than that. You can logic your way, which is just avoidance, right? Or it's just been denial. I don't see what's going on. I don't care what's going on, especially if this person is a Capricorn. If they have Capricorn energy, if they're super, super ambitious, if they've been very charming with you in the past when they got you, and, since then you've just been feeling like they've been playing you. They're not sincere with you. This is for you. So, this Devil card is also about clarifying older issues. Because you can't move forward without revising your plans. There is no moving forward right now until these energies are in balance so the Chariot can move forward. And how do you bring things into balance? Well, for one thing, you've got to find some way to balance these scales that are swinging wildly right now. And the High Priestess is, okay, it can be a really annoying energy or annoying advice in this particular scenario, because when things are changing so rapidly, when you are being basically forced into a corner and made to decide, it's not your favorite thing to do. We know that. But more importantly, the sense of imbalance is stressed again and again. And it comes up very strong in your astrology as well, especially during that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, where, in some ways it'll be really positive. You do have money coming in. You do have debts being cleared, alhamdulillah. So there's some good stuff going on. But emotionally, the High Priestess is your best shot, which is sit back and don't react. Don't avoid. Don't run away. Don't reason your way out of it. Because you can even reason your way out of neglect. You can reason your way out of someone not caring about you. You can reason your way out of someone not understanding your desires, right? Libras have a very complicated relationship with love because love and attention get intertwined to such a degree that sometimes being with a Libra, you don't really know if you're with them or you're with some version of them that makes them look good next to you, right? So there can be a lot of apprehension surrounding your relationships right now, especially because you're being forced to look at things as they are, not how you can trick your mind into thinking they are. Okay, let me speak a little bit more about that. So, is love about attention? That's one of the things that's really focused on right now. And in May, this question will get even deeper. Is love about attention for you? Because attention doesn't necessarily mean understanding your goals, understanding your desires. It doesn't actually have anything to do with respecting you, right? It doesn't really have anything to do with understanding you. So this idea that we have formulated and perhaps you have bought into of, I am a hopeless romantic. I don't know about that. And I'm not trying to start any beef. I'm just saying, I really don't know about that, because are you a hopeless romantic if you're falling head over heels for people because they pay attention to you and they look good? Are you being understood is what the eclipse has asked you. And you may be reeling from that question still, because what does that mean in the context of the larger, of your larger life here? Like, what do you mean now I should start picking my partners based on how much they understand me, how much they respect my goals, if we have mutual goals? I thought this was about mutual benefit, right? I thought this was about charm and flirting and getting attention and getting some notches in my belt. I thought this was about showing off. I thought this was about making me look good. What do you mean, am I understood? What do you mean, do they care about my goals? That's not what love is about. But the eclipse was like, are you sure about that? And now you're starting to think about it. And what you may realize is that your logic has for a long time been leading you into situations that just were not good for you, but also didn't provide even the most basic elements of a relationship. To have the eclipse illuminate this can severely unbalance you. Because now, how far back do I have to go to even start thinking about remedying this? What level of self-awareness is the universe trying to get me to? Because I'm really not for this. I have things to do. I have places to go. I have to look good to go there. I don't have time for this kind of insight. Umber. Okay, so Page of Pentacles, Five of Pentacles, and the Seven of Wands. Now, your past does not define you. The choices you've made, the people you've picked, that's okay. That's the best part about self-awareness, right? What does she say in Vanilla Sky? Every passing moment is a chance to turn it all around. That's about self-awareness. You're gaining that self-awareness. Of course, you're going to go through a period of being like, ick, yuck, what was I actually doing? And that's okay. That's healthy. You should do that. You should do that. But, this whole idea of what's love got to do with it? For you, sorry, Tina, this is more what's attention got to do with it? What's affirming my ego have to do with this? What's feeding my ego? What does that have anything to do with this? This being love. So this deep level of self-awareness is causing a lot of havoc. Now, if you're with a Capricorn or a Cancer, unfortunately, you may realize that you have been sitting back way too long. Because the one thing I will say about Libras is that y'all are very smart, mashallah, very smart, very beautiful. But you have a tendency to get treated like shit. Because that like almost aloof, calm, laid back demeanor, I'm too cool for this, I don't need to worry about this, this will work itself out, it gets you played. It gets you into abusive situations because you're expecting everybody to have the same level of manners and class as you do, decorum, basic decorum, and they don't. And you'd think that because they don't, they would recognize that, have a little shame, amend their behavior, hopefully, and instead, they run right over you. Because they're not looking for those markers of class and civility and sophistication that are paramount to your existence in every aspect of life. So those people have an advantage over you. Because they refuse to play your particular game of standards, and you refuse to stop fucking with them. Because the logical thing to do, right, if we're going to talk logic, is to recognize that you like somebody, recognize that somebody's giving you attention, recognize that they may be super hot, there may be a lot of chemistry, but also to simultaneously recognize that caliber-wise you're not equals. That ultimately you will not respect this person and that you shouldn't be with them. That ultimately this person cannot even begin to comprehend your goals and dreams. So therefore you will not be understood and you will always get attention but be neglected at the same time. Woo! Okay? Using your intellect to justify empty relationships, using your intellect, using your logic to justify relationships where you're holding on for some other reason other than love, affection, connection. No matter how you explained it to yourself before, there is no way after this eclipse that your mind can make you think that there is some benefit to staying in that situation. Your mind can't make you believe that you're being respected when you're being disrespected. Your mind can't trick you into doing that. It can do a lot of things. But you don't need your mind to know when you're being disrespected. You don't need your intellect to pipe up and say, hey, that's rude. That's not nice. Your feelings tell you fine enough. Now, part of the issue right now, why those scales are so unbalanced, is because you are more in touch with that feeling part of yourself. Of course, the logic is there. You'll always be a logical, smart, air-minded person. Alhamdulillah, that's wonderful. But you're also going to start to see, your mind will be recalling moments where you used your mind and your logic against yourself. You will start to understand why there is a part of you that doesn't trust you, that feels betrayed again and again by you because you put it on a back burner for something that you have decided is a bigger goal, a bigger fish to fry. It's a lot. It's heavy. I think that's why I needed a minute after I did the notes for your reading. I needed a day to just like, okay, how do I, and even now I feel, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I feel like I'm being too harsh. Sometimes you guys think, oh, she doesn't like us anymore. She never reads for us like the way she used to. For a while, I stopped reading the way I used to for you because every comment was, oh, you just hate us. That's why you do this. And I realized, wow, certain things are just too sensitive to be spoken about with Libras because they will not actually listen. They'll jump straight to, you're being a hater. So I just backed off. But these moments are really important because now it's not me, challenging you with this. Your own mind is coming up with this stuff and saying, hey, wait a minute. Like, you could be a Libra playing the long game right now and find yourself unable to play a long game because something has been unearthed. Something with this eclipse has come to light, and that something is that this walking off a cliff thing you do because you're a hopeless romantic isn't about being a hopeless romantic. It's about something else. Dare I say, it's about codependency. Okay? So the eclipse is showing you really deep, deep stuff right now that requires intense levels of self-awareness, acceptance, self-love, right? Nurturing the self. It's hard to admit all these things without that. Now, the other part of this is you just completely intellectualizing neglect. Again, maybe you have a plan, or maybe you just give a lot of chances. Maybe you give people a lot of rope. Maybe you give your partners a lot of room and understanding. That sounds wonderful. It sounds civilized. It sounds sophisticated. It sounds very, appropriate. And yet, how much of that is just you intellectualizing neglect? How much of that is you just taking the easy way out and not having those confrontational talks where you say, hey, yeah, I can find these many reasons for you to not be on the same page with me, but that still doesn't matter. We're not on the same page. That's what matters. Okay? But as long as you're intellectualizing it, which, again, never to demean your intellect. You have one of the highest intellects in the zodiac. You are not just beautiful, you are intensely intelligent. However, it does not matter how intelligent you are when you use your mind against yourself. Are you starting to see a theme? Okay, now let's talk about Jupiter and Uranus. So this conjunction, like I said, is from the 15th to the 26th. Libra rising, this is in your 8th house of intimacy. And we're focusing in that 8th house on that emotional merging aspect. So this is what's been going on with you since the eclipse. Now, in 4 days, you start a period where you can unexpectedly fall into a very deep, intense, transformational relationship. You know why? Because your eyes are open to what you've been doing. That's why it's not such a big deal. Sure, it feels like a big deal right now. Sure, you could be in the, throes of self-hate. Oh my God, I can't believe I let myself I can't believe I've been doing this. I can't believe I let this person do this. I can't believe I've felt like I've been walked all over. Because like the Capricorn and the Cancer will walk all over you. But the Virgo will just annihilate your life and just walk away and be like, oh, sorry, yeah, I'm not feeling this anymore. Sorry. Or like say some shit that'll stay with you forever. Like, yeah, you're just not real enough for me. And you're like, what? You could have just left. You didn't have to like leave a knife in my back. But this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is the sweets after the medicine. The medicine is harsh. The medicine makes you reevaluate everything. You feel like you're falling head first. Free fall out of what's supposed to be a stable structure that you trust. The people that are supposed to be these cardinal markers for you. Mom and dad for some people. What you thought of them and what you thought of yourself in relation to them. All of it has been exposed as foolishness. The eclipse was like, what are you doing? How long are we going to be a beautiful doormat? What are you doing? And the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction comes in, 7 days later? The eclipse is on the 8th. On the 15th, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction begins and says, okay, now that you've learned what you needed to learn, now that you're no longer in denial, now that you're no longer running from the deepest truths, now that you're not intellectualizing your pain, the neglect you've suffered, the inattention, now it's time for you to be seen, be valued. Deep connection. They see you the way you really are. They care about your dreams and goals. They understand your desires. May not be their desires, but they understand them. It's possible. Now, if you're already with someone, this can be a time where you realize how loved you really are. You just didn't see it that way. You didn't feel that way. You couldn't feel it. Perhaps you had used your mind as a way to create a barrier of resentment. They just couldn't get through to you. This conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus is perfected on the 20th, which is one day after the Sun also moves into Taurus. So it's extremely lucky for you to once again feel brought back into the fold. You are loved. The universe lets you know one way or another, from the people around you or from somebody completely new. The point is that you need to know that things aren't as bad as they feel. You are loved. And that love has direction. It's something you can count on. Now, if you're one of the people who, we were talking about earlier, and you realize that relationship can be no more, understand that beginning an amazing new relationship like this and ending something so you can do your own thing are tantamount to the same thing, just as long as you get away from the situation that you have been trying to rationalize. That has been obviously so bad for you that even the people around you have said, like, what is this? And the thing that you may often hear, the most, is like, you don't need to do this. Not you. You're the last person I would think would do this or need to do this. Why are you doing this? Because what you also realize with this extreme self-awareness of the eclipse is that there are situations that have been embarrassing for you. There are situations when you have done and said things that you would never do and say because you wanted somebody to approve of you. And we've all done it. We've all been there. But not a lot of us have turned that, some of us, but not many turned that into an entire relationship. And even if they did, it doesn't matter. We're not talking about them. We're talking about you. And it's not good for you. Okay? If you're connected to somebody, you can feel around the 20th a much deeper understanding of how you're being loved. And it creates a lot of energy and ambition within you to go and to get up. First of all, get up and go and do the things. Oh, I have to cover this. Sorry. There's like some YouTube nudity thing. Like even on the cards, they're like, no. Right? To get up. Get up. And move forward. So, with that deeper understanding of how loved you are, which happens at the beginning of Taurus season, which happens in the midst of that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, you will begin to understand why it was so hard at the beginning of the month. Why was I reevaluating all these things? Why are all these different realizations just right in my face about how I've been lying to myself, how I've been avoiding, how I've been painting, over something disastrous because I think I have a plan, or rationally this will blow over, or, this person's not really like this, or they're not always going to be like this, or things will get better. Not if you're being neglected, not if you're being misunderstood, because it's one thing to not be understood. It's another thing for someone to go out of their way to misunderstand you. So there are many of you out there who have been stuck in this Nine of Swords energy for a while. And now you get a really clean, wonderful chance to get out of it. If you are single, again, there are some wonderful prospects out there for you that you can actually have that deep relationship you're craving, right? And this coincides perfectly, this new luck, new love, perhaps, inshallah, you deserve it, This coincides perfectly with your desire to also reevaluate your financial plans, your plans for the future. You need a new plan. And that new plan has to be based on you, on what you want, on what makes you happy, on what makes you tick, not what's going to be good for work, not what's going to be good for your family, not what's going to be good for your friends, not what's going to be good for your ego or your libido. But what's good for all of you. This can get messy. This can get confusing. It's not a lot of times where you focused on all of you. Well, I'm a multitude. You'll say, yes, I understand. And yet someone who comes into your life and wants to be a part of your future needs to understand that multitude, needs to understand that there is a quite substantial ego here, but also a bent toward being quite righteous. You are a complex being. Your future has to reflect that. Because the person who puts you in a box the most is you. Okay? Now, one of the other things I will say about money that I find is very important right now is that your money is decided this year by whom you associate with. Your associations will either pull you all the way up or drag you. It really does depend on how savvy and smart you're going to be right now. So if you have some nefarious ties, if you have some questionable friends, you may think, oh, they have nothing to do with my financial life, or they have nothing to do with my work life. It doesn't even matter. They have everything to do with everything. Your friendships, your associations, your public relationships are going to be the driving factor of either pushing your work, your business, your money up, or pulling it all the way down. So being really careful to only swim in these circles where people have the same goals and have the same standards and have the same quality of life as you. I'm not just talking about money. I just don't want you to go from, I haven't been understood, my desires haven't been understood, my goals haven't been respected, to, oh, this person's nice, they respect me, and we seem to have the same goals, and that's enough. It's not enough. You can't just, there have to be a lot of factors that come into play for you to run things really well and not get unbalanced. You have to stay within a certain group or in a certain stratosphere because your money is being dictated right now by where you are in that social pecking order, especially if you have been, again, consorting with nefarious people. All the Libras that know puff come to mind. Okay? But the scales are wildly unbalanced. And these success and failure moments that you have financially are almost entirely defined by who you're associating with, who you have associated with. So if you've got some skeletons in your closet, get rid of them because it feels like the world's eyes are going to be on you. And if you've got nothing to hide, that's a wonderful feeling. If you want the world to, you want to absorb this energy into you because you're feeling wonderful and you're feeling loved and you found somebody that really respects you, great. But just understand that if you don't stick to a very high standard, your opportunities are lost. It's no longer available to you, that idea that as a Libra you can have this type of friend, this type of friend, this type of friend, this type of associate, because, you be mixy and you be social and you be diplomatic and you be going out and dealing with people. Mm-mm. You have to get super hyper critical of who you know, because everyone you know is going to affect your money somehow. So you want to be real clear and clean on that. Okay? Now, you may also have had a drive on a particular project for a while, talking about work. You've put that kind of Aries fire behind it. Even though a Libra, you've mixed that fire with air and created quite a storm behind something, and it was just unproductive and it didn't work and it actually took a lot from you. It's time to let that go. Whatever that unproductive project was, it's time to just abandon it completely. Okay? And because the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is bringing you gifts, money, clearing of debt, right? Boosting of reputation, it's really okay. Don't let your ego play games with you. It's really okay to let something go that isn't working. Financially. But also emotionally, right? Now, along with the boon of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, you also have this uncanny feeling like, oh, I'm going to have to work really hard this year. And you will. And you will. Very hard work is required, especially on the emotional front. And let me tell you why. Because authority plays a big part in April. Authority, stability, rules, traditions, respect within, like every culture has their own system of respect. All of that is very central. Why? Because Taurus season for you is all about personal power and how you express it, how you define it, and how that interacts with other people. So we're going to look at, I have so many more notes here, copious notes. We're going to look at dates, we're going to look at astrological transits, and then we're going to talk about, in depth more, about career and money, mental and physical health, and then about self-awareness and personal power. And what the solutions are to the hole that you can keep falling into, even though April has brought you a frightening level of self-awareness of your own emotional patterns that keep you from being fulfilled. There is still something very positive about self-awareness, even if you can't feel it right now. There is hope in that self-awareness that you are being pushed into. It's not all bad. It's not all distressing. It's not all stressful. But all of it, including this first general part of the reading, is very stressful if you have decided that you know everything already and you don't need to change in any way. If you know everything already and you don't need to change in any way, if you know, if you have your value in certain aspects of life and according to those values you're great and no further introspection needs to be done, there is no need to change anything, then I think that April and May are extremely hard. Because this self-awareness should work on you. And if it doesn't, as we've seen with astrology throughout the years, each month builds on the last. So your need to get a grip on this is really vital then for your astrology in May to be any benefit to you. This is a hurdle. Okay, it can be a super painful one to be robbed of your illusions, right? Disillusionment is painful. But we're not talking about some Joycean story that you're reading where some kid is being disillusioned. We're talking about your life, the choices you make, the way you choose to see yourself and others. I think we could stand a little disillusionment for the sake of our own health and happiness long term, right? This is how I speak to you because I love you. I will see you in the extended. That extended can be found on Patreon, link below, Vimeo, link below, or an instant link where the reading is sent straight to your inbox below, as well as a link for a personal reading, which looks just like this. Okay? I love you. I'll see you in the extended.